Would you believe me if I were to tell you that it's probably too late for you to begin building your home in the village right now? This is what I'm going to explore with you in the next 10 minutes or so. So, hopefully, by the end of this video, you'll all have a sense as to what makes the most sense when it comes to timelines or what's ideal in terms of when a person should begin building at home in the village, if at all you're thinking of eventually moving back. So this video today is going to focus primarily on people who are considering the possibility of living in the village permanently or long term, especially folks who have not built a place for themselves, or even folks who are thinking about additional options besides an existing structure that has already been built. As you already know that many Kenyans living abroad are building in the village. Most of us are building what we call retirement haciendas. One of my viewers does not like that term, but it's a very common term. But and in fact, over the last year or so, I've had the great fortune of really visiting many of these homes. I've seen lots of exciting stuff, a variety of home sizes, designs, and all that. In fact, visiting homes by diasporans is usually one of the highlights of my life whenever I'm in Kenya. So I usually take the time to visit returnees, diasporans who are still here, or even just folks who are building stuff in the village. Any construction or development work that happens in the village, I'm always there when I can. So again, many of these diasporans that I'm talking about are either built and done or are in the process of building. A few others are still contemplating, planning on starting perhaps next year, early in the year. And so this video is going to focus on the latter group that is just about to jump into this arena. So as I show you this, I'm going to have you watch our home in the village. And today I'm just focusing on the nature. I want you guys to take the time to just savor the beautiful wonders of nature that Karateng offers. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, Karateng is a village in western Kenya, in Kisumu. It's a place we absolutely love and we celebrate all the time. Good morning, family. Welcome back to our channel, and I hope this content will be worth your time. If it is, I hope you subscribe. But even if you don't, I hope to see you as a regular viewer. So when is it a good time to begin building in the village, especially if you're thinking about a retirement home? In truth, and by the way, that is mapera. Mapera should be guava, I believe. It's fruiting. It's one of my favorite fruits in the village. I actually took this from my grandmother's home and just planted them randomly in the front yard. So the question as to when it is ideal to build a home is one that does not have one answer. And I honestly don't think there's any one particular time that is ideal for everybody, because we all find ourselves in very different circumstances. But most diasporans that I know, oftentimes it takes us a few years to stabilize financially. And so when we arrive in diaspora, it's not always easy to start venturing into things like that. But many of the folks are still able to do it as early as within their first or second year of being in America. But the vast majority of folks that I know often need a few years to stabilize before they can start venturing in this. But I think this is also where we go wrong, because some people may have this misconception that you need to make a certain amount of money to begin building. And I don't think really that is the case. In fact, if you're waiting to be rich enough to begin building, you probably will never build anything in the village. It just doesn't work like that. Because in truth, I don't know if we ever have enough money to do things like this. So this reminds me of a saying that is common in my community called chaka chaka. And chaka chaka simply translates to just start. I don't think it means you just jump ahead first without a plan. It simply means you don't have to have all of your ducks in a row to begin building. In fact, that's the primary reason I often don't tell people how much it really cost us to build this home. Because sometimes when people hear the summary figure, they think it's something that is just out of reach. If you look at many projects that folks have done, especially the folks that I've met, almost everyone I talk to tells me that they didn't have that entire money to build the home. And so the Chaka Chaka idea really helps because instead of focusing on the end goal in terms of the cost, you focus on little milestones as you move forward. So there's not a perfect time to do this. We always say Chaka Chaka. And for folks who are new, especially in diaspora, I've seen almost 3 different scenarios. I've seen folks that within 6 months to a year or so, they're already in a position where they're able to invest and start building at home. But for many folks, it takes us sometimes up to 20 years plus to be in a space where we can actually build. The point is, start as soon as you can and don't think you will ever be ready to do a project this scale at any one point. Once you start, things roll and you'd be surprised how you are able to pull it off. So those who are specifically close to retirement have some really unique things going on that I want to review. Now, number one, before I actually give you the examples, I would say that if you're thinking of the Chaka Chaka, there are some basic steps that you can do that really don't require a lot of money. And those things might include something like purchasing land. And in many places, actually, land can be cheaper than 500,000 Kenya shillings, which is about $4,000. Again, that depends on where and how big of a land you're purchasing. There are many, many villages where you still find even an acre for less than 500,000 Kenya shillings. Something as simple as planting trees, you could simply start that before you are ready to begin building. And of course, fencing and initial material like ballast, stones and things like that. But you don't want to buy things like cement. So there are simple steps that you can start even if you don't have a decent amount down. But in general, as I mentioned earlier, those who are closer to retirement have some unique issues that may present problems. So things like, number one, when you're closer to retirement, your capacity to expand your income might be limited. And this will also vary depending on the kind of work you do. People who depend on physical work may have limited ability to expand their income. And of course, in Kenya, the older you are, the harder it is to even get loans. Folks at this age may still have unresolved debt. And the issue with this is that construction often comes with very wild budgets. Whatever it is we tell you you're supposed to spend on a particular thing, you can expect that figure will change. And so if you can't expand your income, you may have issues with paying for stuff at some point. And then, of course, people who are closer to retirement may have other commitments like having kids in college and they have to pay for fees, elderly parents that require medical support. And of course, when you're closer to retirement, then if you lose your job, it might be really, really hard to get back into the workforce. For some reason in America, these people don't hire older folks. I would say distinguished folks per se. And then likely, if you've been gone for so long and you're close to retirement, chances are you're not as connected with folks at home. Many folks in my circle who are either retired or close to retirement don't go home as much and so are not very well connected to the ground. And so they're very, very vulnerable to being exploited because they don't know how much things cost, they don't have the networks and things like that. And then also the reality is that when you're close to retirement, you have far fewer years left to enjoy whatever you're going to build in the village, which should not stop you. It's just something to be aware of course. And if you're older, and by older I'm talking about people in their 60s, 70s, at that point, you can't just go and build anything. You really have to think about a home that is accessible and friendly to people who are that age. When you're younger, you can still ignore that and you'll be fine. But as you get closer to retirement, that is really not an option, something you have to think about. So, if at all you are closer to retirement and you're thinking, should I start or am I ready or not? Here are some things that I want to offer that you want to think about. Number one, again, we start with Chaka Chaka. Just get it off the ground, but just make sure you have a plan. Don't jump in head first without a plan. Number two, if at all possible, use trusted consultants. so that you're minimizing mistakes. That's basically the point why we have consultants, because you don't have as much room to make mistakes. And then, of course, as we say, now, if at all possible, travel and do things in person, because as I said, you're not very well connected with home, and so it's very easy for you to be exploited if you're building from diaspora. Then, number four, think about the scale of your project. When you're 20s, building a 1 billion shilling home, 10 bedroom, 10 bath with swimming pool and all that may be an exciting idea. But when you're closer to retirement, the scale should match whatever you envision as your lifestyle. So whatever that means, just think about scale as far as what you're going to require moving forward. Because there are things that may be interesting when you're younger, may not be interesting at this age. For example, I was really excited about having a pool outside years ago. But now that I have younger kids and I worry about the safety part, I am not putting a pool in my property. And then I hope you are flexible, because so many things are going to change, and this should also allow you to take advantage of new technology that make building cheaper and faster. Think about things like floating foundation, hollow port slabs, interlocking blocks, and things like that. So be flexible. And then number six, I also recommend that consider buying a home instead of building. Of course, that comes with its own set of challenges, but that might save you the headache of going through land and building and all the other stuff. So consider buying a place. Again, the challenge with that too is that in the village, your options for buying a home might be, your options are fewer than they are in the city. And when you find it, you may have to do remodeling. And then, of course, quality control becomes a problem. A home that is already there, you don't know what they did, what they put in, and all that stuff. So I hope this was helpful for folks who are closer to retirement, and I will see you in the next. Thank you.